How did your parents fail you? I think the saddest part about my childhood is that my parents never even realized they failed me. To the outside world, we were the picture of a decent family. Nice house, decent clothes, polite smiles in public. But inside that house, I felt like a ghost. My parents were never physically abusive. They didn't scream or hit me, but their silence, their absence, their emotional distance, that did something to me I can't even put into words. My dad was the kind of man who showed love through rules. He believed discipline was everything, and feelings were weakness. He never hugged me, not once. I don't even know what it's like to be held by my father. He never said, "I'm proud of you," even when I brought home straight A's or won school awards. Instead, he'd nod, maybe say good, and then go back to whatever he was doing. My mom was the opposite, but not in the way you'd hope. She was distant in her own way, not cold like him, but wrapped up in her own world of TV shows, gossip, and shopping. She talked about love a lot, but she rarely showed it. I remember once when I tried to talk to her about being bullied at school, about how I cried in the bathroom every lunch break, she looked up from her phone and said, "You need to toughen up. Life's hard for everyone." That was it. That was her version of comfort. I learned to stop asking for help. I learned that in my house, being vulnerable meant being ignored. And that kind of neglect, it doesn't leave bruises, but it leaves cracks in your soul. I grew up thinking love had to be earned, that if I just behaved better, achieved more, maybe they'd finally see me. But nothing was ever enough. When I hit puberty, it got worse. Instead of helping me through the confusion and insecurities, they criticized me. My dad would comment on my weight, calling it just a joke. And my mom once told me, "You'd be prettier if you smiled more." I started starving myself in secret, hiding food in napkins, skipping meals at school. No one noticed. No one asked. When I started dating in high school, I threw myself into toxic relationships just to feel something. Anything. I wasn't looking for love. I was looking for someone to finally make me feel wanted, seen, safe. Of course, I ended up with people who mirrored my parents, emotionally unavailable, critical, distant. I thought that's what love was supposed to feel like. The real moment I knew my parents failed me was when I had my first panic attack in college. I called my mom, sobbing, telling her I couldn't breathe, that I felt like I was dying. And she said, "You're just being dramatic. Calm down." That sentence still echoes in my brain sometimes. I hung up and cried alone on the floor of my dorm room, feeling like a burden in a world that already felt too heavy. It took me years of therapy, tears, failed friendships, and failed relationships to understand that the problem wasn't me. It was them. They didn't know how to love in the way a child needs to be loved. Maybe they thought they were doing their best, and maybe in their minds they were. But intention doesn't erase impact. I'm an adult now. I have a job, a place of my own, and friends who feel more like family than my parents ever did. But there's still a hole, a part of me that mourns the childhood I never had, the safety I never felt, the comfort I never knew. I'm trying to forgive them, not for their sake, but for mine. Carrying the weight of their failure was crushing me, and I deserve to put it down. I deserve to heal. But I won't pretend it didn't hurt. I won't lie and say their failure didn't shape me into someone who had to fight twice as hard to love herself, because it did. And if I ever have children, I'll break the cycle. I'll hold them. I'll tell them I'm proud. I'll listen when they cry. I'll make sure they never wonder if they're enough, because that question haunted me for too long. And that's how my parents failed me. Not with fists, but with silence, indifference, and absence dressed as normalcy.